Welcome into CBS Sports HQ alongside Chris Hassel. I'm Tiffany Blackman. And late last night, the college coaching carousel started spinning again.
My head's spinning. It's just getting crazy out here, really. I mean, especially with the huge brands that are now looking for new head coaches. Penn State, Florida, now LSU. They get embarrassed at home Saturday night by Texas A&M. And they're about to pay the second largest buyout behind only Texas A&M, almost $54 million to show Brian Kelly the door. That's second in college football history to Jimbo Fisher just a few years back at A&M. And more than James Franklin, who was fired at Penn State. It's the first time in 10 years that two preseason top 10 teams have fired their coaches. And Brian Kelly joins that list of now 8 Power Conference coaches who have been fired, and that list undoubtedly will continue to grow. Let's get Tom Fornelli in here for a discussion on the carousel and Lane Kiffin in particular, because he's kind of the hot name out there that everybody wants. Everybody seems to think they can get. Well, Tom, he was on Pat McAfee earlier in the day, and he said that he has never made a decision based on money. He didn't say he wasn't going anywhere. He just says, I've never made a decision based on money. What about resources, though, right? What do you think ends up happening with Lane?
I mean, I think he's in a very good situation because while he might not make decisions based on money, whatever decision he makes, he's going to make more money because of it, because Florida will be interested, LSU will be interested, and Ole Miss will be interested in keeping him in Oxford. So he's sitting pretty as far as his contract is concerned, and he's already making $9 million a year. But as far as what he's going to do, I think if you kind of like rank the open jobs, most people would put LSU above Florida, but I do think Florida would be more appealing to Lane simply because he grew up in Florida. He's been coached in Florida before. He just genuinely likes the state of Florida. So I think he would look at that as a better spot for him. But personally, I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to leave Ole Miss. We've seen this year, there was a documentary put out where Lane has talked about it. He's been pretty open about how he feels like his life is in a much better place now than it was, years ago, whether it was at Tennessee or after he was fired by USC. And he just, Oxford has been very good to him, and I think he's genuinely happy there. So I don't know if Lane is going to look at these other gigs as possible, does he want to start over somewhere new when he's got things going so well with the Rebels? Because if we look at the situations right now, Florida and LSU have fired their coaches for a reason. They haven't gotten to the college football playoff. Lane Kiffin seems on the doorstep of getting Ole Miss to the college football playoff this year. So really the only argument for leaving would be like if you don't feel you can win a national title at Ole Miss, but you think you can at LSU and Florida, and that's your priority, that would make sense. But based on where he's gotten Ole Miss to this point, there's no reason for him not to think he can't win a national title at Ole Miss. So I think when all the smoke settles and everything's done and all the jobs are filled, I think Lane's still going to be in Oxford.
We're going to ask you to do that right now. It's not an easy job. You're kind of throwing darts at a board here, but we're going to try to get you to predict the college football coaching carousel as of right now, beginning with LSU. The last 3 coaches before Brian Kelly won a national championship. That's the bar. It's not playoff, it's national championship. Who do you think fills that spot?
Well, when you look at these coaching searches at these big-time programs, we have seen them take big shots at big names, and then they end up paying $50 million buyouts. Brian Kelly was a big swing at a big name, and that did not work. Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, big swing, big name, did not work. What did Texas A&M do after getting rid of Jimbo Fisher? It brings in Mike Elko, who might not be the household name, but was a good fit for the program. I think if LSU is wise, they go for a guy who might not be a household name but fits well in the program and is already coaching in the state of Louisiana. Jon Sumrall at Tulane had a very effective career at Troy, won a lot of football games, turned that into the Tulane gig, and now he's got Tulane in position to where it could possibly get a college football playoff berth if it wins the American. It's in contention to do so there, and I think he is somebody that makes a lot of sense. I also think that he is somebody who has been coveted by a lot of SEC schools with possible openings. So while I think we're going to spend a lot of time swinging about big names and who LSU could go get because it is the most attractive gig out there, I don't think we're going to see them land like the Urban Meyer or the James Franklin or whatever you want, or Lane Kiffin, as we discussed earlier. I think they're going to make a sensible hire in Jon Sumrall. And I think if they hire Sumrall, he's somebody who can win a lot of games there while also connecting with the fan base and the boosters, which is frankly something Brian Kelly did not do. 4th
season as a head coach, and Sumrall has never lost more than one conference game in the regular season in 2 different conferences. Let's move on to Florida. And Tom, this is somebody you're going with that has never been a head coach before. Who is it?
Yeah, I got Florida going to their rival and poaching one of their coordinators, getting Georgia defensive coordinator Glenn Schumann. If you look, the last time somebody hired Georgia's defensive coordinator away, it went pretty well. Dan Lanning's doing pretty well at Oregon with the Ducks, and I think Schumann is somebody that Florida should go after because, A, he has the blueprint for how to run a successful program because he's been at Georgia for years under Kirby Smart. He has seen it up front. He has won a national title there on that coaching staff. And B, he's a dogged recruiter, which is something that you're going to want at Florida. That is one of the bigger problems that Florida has had with some of its coaches. It's why they got rid of Dan Mullen and brought in Billy Napier. But of course, Napier was never really able to get enough wins to justify keeping the job. I think Schumann fits from a logical perspective in that he's familiar with the SEC, he knows how to recruit, and also it gives you the double whammy of not only getting yourself a coach who might help you win games, but possibly weakening your biggest rival, Georgia, from just north. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the Gators.
Okay, so an assistant for Florida, for LSU, you went down to the American Conference for a coach. How about at Penn State? Who fills that spot left by James Franklin?
Yeah, I'm not going too far off the board here. I'm going with the most obvious answer, the name that's been floated since the job first came open. It's Nebraska's Matt Rule. Nebraska is off to a very good start this season. I do not think that they're going to finish the year as the 4th best team in the Big Ten and get to the college football playoff, though. But I don't think you can argue with the results that Matt Rule has had at Nebraska. We are seeing the typical 3rd-year bump that he's had at every single stop that he's been to. And he's also a former Penn State linebacker who has had success at 3 different stops among the college level. So I think that he makes plenty of sense in that he's familiar with the program. He knows what they're looking for. He knows what it takes to win there. And also, you know what, Chris? A lot of times when you hire a coach, you kind of think about maybe who he can bring with him in the transfer portal. He's got a pretty good quarterback at Nebraska in Dylan Raiola. Maybe he convinces him to come to State College with him, and now you fixed your quarterback problem too.
I've heard a lot of Penn State fans say over the last 24 hours, anybody but Brian Kelly, just keep Brian Kelly away. I think they would definitely open their arms for Matt Rule, the former Penn State Nittany Lion, if that was the case. But that would open up another job at Nebraska, a big-time job. We'll get to that in just a second. How about Virginia Tech? This one seems to make even more sense, I guess, than Matt Rule to Penn State.
Yeah, this is the great storyline. This is Shane Beamer leaving South Carolina to take over at Virginia Tech, the program that his father built pretty much from the ground up and turned into a premier program back in the Big East and then into its early ACC days. If you look at how things have gone at South Carolina this year, I don't think Shane Beamer is in any kind of immediate trouble. It's just after having the success that they had last year, there were high expectations coming into 2025, and now we're staring at a South Carolina team that might not even make a bowl game. So maybe Shane Beamer's looking around and saying, I might not be in trouble now, but this makes sense as far as timing, as far as resetting my clock and starting somewhere new, and also starting somewhere where obviously my last name is going to buy me a lot of credit and give me plenty of time to rebuild a program that's been over some tough times recently, and is also a program that is at least saying that they're ready to start truly investing financially into the program, which they have to do if you want to compete in this day and age.
So that would open up yet another power conference job. Let's fill out what we have as of right now and go all the way through. Arkansas is open. You've got Alex Golesh from South Florida going there. You've got Jed Fish going from Washington to UCLA. Stanford, Jason Garrett to Stanford. Okay, another former NFL head coach going there with Frank Reich there this season. But then that opens up a couple more spots, right? I mean, you've got Shane Beamer leaving South Carolina. You've got Matt Rule leaving Nebraska. So let's fill those openings as well. Who goes to Nebraska?
Oh, you're going to love hearing this one, Chris. I've got Matt Campbell finally leaving Iowa State for the Big Ten job that it's been rumored he's been looking for years now. Like, people thought he was holding out for Michigan. He might be looking out for Penn State if they make the offer, but as we said, I've got Matt Rule going there. So if you're Matt Campbell, maybe you feel like you've just kind of hit your head against the ceiling of what you can accomplish at Iowa State. So you look at Nebraska as a place you can go to maybe compete for more playoff spots and also compete for national titles. And also, culture-wise, it's not that drastic of a change going from Ames to Lincoln. It's a very similar situation. At Washington, I've got them doing the same thing I had Florida doing, poaching the coordinator of their rival after Jed Fish, maybe surprisingly to most people, leaves for UCLA. But I think Will Stein, the offensive coordinator at Oregon, has been fantastic. We have seen that team score points with different quarterbacks each of the last few years. I think he's somebody that can go in there and get his shot to be a head coach for the first time and could be successful. At South Carolina, hiring James Madison's coach worked pretty well for Indiana, a program in the Big Ten that nobody really thought had any chance of ever contending. South Carolina, an SEC program that nobody looks at as an actual contender in the league. They go get Bob Chesney. Maybe he turns them into a winner like Cignetti's done Indiana. And then finally, Iowa State, I see promoting Taylor Mouser, who has been on that staff since Matt Campbell came from Toledo to take over. He was also a GA at Toledo under when Matt Campbell was the offensive coordinator there. I think that he's just somebody who's very familiar with that program and would help kind of ease the transition in a way that won't be too jarring.
Quickly, Tom, why would Jed Fish leave Washington for UCLA? That seems like a downward move.
It might, but sometimes, Chris, it's not really the job, it's your family situation and maybe what other people in your family want to happen.
Okay, all right, that's all you need to know. Tom Fornelli with us here on CBS Sports HQ. Thank you so much, Tom, for